Hey, what's up YouTube? I'm going to be making a care video for the Pacman frog. There are two different species of Pacman frogs that are commonly available in the pet trade. There is the ornate Pacman frog and the Cranwell's Pacman frog. And this guy I have right here is a Cranwell's. You can tell because he's albino, and they only have Cranwell albinos. There's no such thing as an ornate albino Pacman frog, so don't be fooled if someplace labels it like that and tries to charge you more. Care for these guys is pretty easy. They just require at least a 10-gallon tank full grown, which is what I have my guy in right now. For the bedding, you want to use Bed Beast, Eco Earth, any type of coconut fiber bedding. You want to keep that generally pretty moist, not wet, but pretty moist because they like very humid environment. Do not use moss. That is a very common substrate that people say to use, but it's actually pretty bad for the Pacman frogs because if you feed them in the tank, it's pretty easy for them to choke on it. I've heard of plenty of Pacman frogs choking and dying on moss during feeding. So I recommend, and a lot of other people recommend, just sticking with the coconut fiber because it's very safe if ingested. And that you just spot clean every day. They'll usually burrow in the Eco Earth, and they'll be in like the same spot for a day or two, and then they'll move. And once they move, they'll usually be a piece of poop right there, and you can just scoop it out. So it's not too hard to find it. But yeah, just spot clean it every day, and about every 2 months, I'd say, maybe a little more, you can replace the bedding if it gets an odor or anything like that. You also want to have a water bowl. That's really important because they like to soak in that. Make sure you change the water in that every other day at least. You want it to be deep enough so it goes to around the frog's shoulders. You don't want it to be so deep that it's going to go over their head if they go in it, because they're not very good swimmers. I also have a vine in here. It's really just for decoration because they are not a climbing species. They just spend most of their time buried in the ground or sitting on the ground. I also have a heat pad back there just to keep the temp a little higher than room temperature. It's just a 5-gallon heat pad, so 5-gallon or 10-gallon heat pad would keep the 10-gallon tank at the right temperature. And you want to make sure you put it on one side, not in the middle, so then they have a heat gradient, so he can choose if he wants to be on the warmer side or the cooler side. You also want to have a screen top for them. That's pretty important. They probably won't escape if you don't have one, but you never know. And crickets will escape definitely without a doubt if you don't have one. I also cover the top of my screen top, with towels to keep in humidity, because the humidity escapes pretty easily out of screen tops really quickly. These guys eat pretty much anything they can fit in their mouth. So crickets, mealworms, roaches, superworms, mice, juvenile rats, anything they can fit in their mouth. Other Pacman frogs, which is why you should only keep them by themselves unless for breeding purposes, because if they're kept with others of their own species, they will be cannibalistic. But I generally feed mine about, right now I just feed him 6 crickets about every 2 days, and he will eat almost all of them. If there's any left, I generally take them out just so they don't bother him, because he obviously won't eat them. I'm actually going to be feeding this guy his first mouse in about a week or two, so I will post a video of that for everyone to see. But you want to make sure that the mouse, if you feed yours that, isn't too big, because if it's too big, their eyes tend to be bigger than their stomach, and I've heard of Pacman frogs who have ruptured their stomach because they've eaten something too big. So you want to make sure it's appropriate size, usually not bigger than their body. That's generally a good rule of thumb. Probably about, I would say, the biggest it would be safest to feed them would be about 3/4 size of their body. So, I mean, that's probably the best bet on how big you can go feeding them wise. But that's pretty much it. They're fairly easy species to maintain, which makes them a fairly good beginner amphibian, because amphibians tend to be pretty sensitive. So if you're looking to get your first, I would definitely recommend a Pacman frog, because they have very low maintenance, very easy to take care of, and pretty reasonably priced too. So I would definitely recommend them. And that's about it for their care. Pretty simple stuff. But I will be posting that video of him eating the mouse in about a week or two, so look for that.